We got this.
Choose a new you in 2022.
Yeah. Choose it
Before
and
you
do it, boo boo.
can it,
Okay.
I wanted to ask you. I feel like you probably don't have like weight issues, right? Like, do you eat fairly? It seems like you eat fairly well. Or is it just natural for you to be
Girl.
smaller?
No, I was just gonna say that I think that when we are having a conversation about obesity in this country, obesity affecting the Black community, whatever it is, we really need to discuss the environment, and we really need to discuss the systemic situations that take place which lead people to be bigger. Like America, period, is one of the fattest countries. Like that's period across the board. It's not just for African Americans, but just like anything, any negative statistic that you have for America, you can definitely go ahead and put Black people at the top of the most negative part, because anything that's negative that affects us as a country is going to affect us the most negative, because we are generally in the worst socioeconomic situation as a group, right? And when you think about weight loss and you think about all of this stuff, our country is not really set up for people to be in shape. It's really not. It's like when you look at commercials, when you look at the food, you don't realize this stuff. Like it's funny that you just asked me if that's something that I've dealt with. What I was gonna say is that this conversation is always interesting to me because I've always been a very small girl. Like growing up all the way through high school, whatever. I mean, maybe a $1.10 soaking wet, like always a very small girl. But I've always eaten whatever I want to eat. Like I'm from the south side of Chicago. Like we eat our Harold's, we eat our Peppies, we like, I'm eating my Italian beef sandwiches. Like I'm eating whatever I want to eat, but I've always been small. That's why this conversation kind of annoys me sometimes, because I feel like we automatically bestow some type of favor or grace to people who are just smaller people, as though they're like doing these great things. And it's like, no, I just always been a smaller person. I never really had to watch what I ate genetically. That doesn't mean that I'm healthy, right? You know what I mean? Just because I'm a certain size doesn't mean that I'm healthy. There's someone who could be larger than me, who could actually be healthier than me. But we want to have conversations that's so stuck on what somebody's actual weight is, as opposed to if people are being healthy. And the fact of the matter is that we're not. And so after I have, my daughter is 4, and I did not start to have a real weight struggle until I had my daughter. Like I'm 38 years old. Like, so I had my daughter at 34. So, once you get over that 30 mark, that weight don't be moving like it used to have been moving.
Yes, yes.
And that's what really stuck out to me when people have these conversations, as though when it comes down to things like your eating habits, your day-to-day, all of this stuff, this is not something that happens overnight in a vacuum. This is something I've been doing my whole entire life. So you're telling me that now all of a sudden I'm just supposed to jump up and know what to eat and how to eat and what to put with this and all of these things. Like, no, that's not just gonna bust out and be something at 38 that I'm just gonna automatically know how to do. It was very, like, I probably at my heaviest, I was probably 164 a couple years ago. That was after I had my daughter. And I'd never been that size. So I was like, you know what? I got to do something. I got to get it off. So I had to do a lot of work to get, and I lost like over 30 pounds, right? But but that's what let me know that it's too hard. It should not be this hard just to eat right and to be a little bit more active. Like, it should not be this difficult, but our system is set up in a way that it is. Just like the Imp Life said, if I don't meal prep and plan out the week, I'm probably going to be eating some stuff that I have no business eating, right? Because all the fast food restaurants got bad food. Like, it's really nothing to eat anywhere that's like healthy for you to eat unless you're cooking it yourself. And that's a problem. And that's why people are overweight. So the fact that we try to act like that doesn't affect or doesn't play into anything, it absolutely does. Because when people working 8, 9, 10 hours, you in your car. Like, I live in Atlanta. In Chicago, you could probably be a little bit more active because you could take public transportation a little bit more, right? Maybe I could walk a couple blocks, do whatever. In Atlanta, you ain't walking nowhere. You got to drive everywhere that you go. So what natural exercise am I actually getting, right? And then if I don't plan out my day, if I'm just trying to grab something to eat on a run, what am I probably eating? It's probably going to be bad food, right? Right, while I'm working and doing all this other stuff. So to me, it's just, I'm not saying that we don't have any type of personal responsibility, because we absolutely do, but we just really have to address, the way that our society is set up for us to be freaking fat. It's set up that way. Like the advertisement, they get our kids early, like everything is set up for you to not be in shape. And then it's going to affect, like I say, people who are in bad socioeconomic situations the worst. I don't know if you've ever heard of food deserts and different things like that, but they don't even have like fresh groceries in certain neighborhoods. And then the cheapest food is the worst food to eat. Like you can get a box of freaking ramen noodles. You can get like all of this cheap food if you don't have a lot of money, and you can eat on it for a while, but it's not healthy. It's more expensive to eat healthier. Like it just, this made me realize it's way too expensive to be in shape. I had to spend a lot of money to get in freaking shape. Like all types of memberships, all types of food, all types of figuring out, like you said, what you're supposed to eat, because that's not something that's readily told. Like, well, we got like what the 5 food groups that we learned in school. Outside of that, what do we know about macros? What do we know about micro? What do we know about any of this stuff? I had to learn.
This is where, and I hear you, Kenan. I appreciate you mentioning that there is a disconnect between us trying to figure out how to eat healthy, and it is directly tied to what is readily available to you. Okay, when you get to the drive-thru, it's easier to just go and hop and say, okay, I'm gonna grab a number 6 on the way home, and and you enjoy that. It tastes good for the moment. You feel like crap afterwards. Okay, let's be honest.
It's purposely addictive. All
that it's highly addictive. The more that you eat things higher in fat content, the more you're gonna want to eat it. But let's just address the misnomer that it is more expensive to eat healthier than it is to enjoy fast food. Okay, that's a temporary thing. Okay, the idea is that you want to create and set up a healthy lifestyle. So correct. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tabitha Brown. She's a vegan. She does a lot of cooking online. She's very popular just with her positive messages and stuff like that. And she actually did challenge the idea that, it's cheap to achieve a healthy diet. You have to do your research. Beans are not expensive. They're high in protein. They're high in folic acid, fiber. Okay, you got broccoli. You got carrots. You can roast them. You can season them up. And I've been where you been, Cannon. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I've always been small, and even before we got on this podcast, sis, Ashley was like, "Girl, what is your issue? Like, you fit now? You was fit before. Like, what are you even talking about?" Like, I've always been thin, and that comes from genetics. My mom she was thin. And so my issue came when I had my son. I was like, yo, I don't even have a fitness journey set up. I don't know how to start and kick this thing off because I never had anything established. I didn't have to worry about that. So then I started saying to myself, okay, now the way my body looks after I had my son, I said, I need to set something in place. I'm like, I'm not sexy no more. Okay. I had rolls on my back. I said, who is this woman?
Thighs rubbing together. Like, what is this?
Girl, my thighs was rubbing together. I had cottage cheese. When I grabbed them, it was ugly out here. Like when I tell you, ugly out here, I ain't want to deal with it no more. It was ridiculous to me. I said, I had to set something in place. And when I tell you, when we hit the pandemic, I just told you, remember how you were saying, okay, it's expensive to get these gym memberships. The gyms was locked down, sis. I couldn't get into the gym for a period of months. I had to use my body. I had to create a mind-muscle connection for myself.
No, even when we talk about how this is why I was saying it's so important for us to be aware of it, because these are things that I didn't learn about later in life, and that shouldn't even be the case. Like even the way our food is labeled is misleading, right? Like the serving size is like unrealistic. Like they'll put they'll put like 20 calories for some potato chips, but they'll put like a serving size like a fourth of a quarter bag of chips. Like nobody's eating a fourth of a bag of chips. Like why are you putting that back? So I mean, what I'm saying is like they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like it's intentional the high sugar and all that stuff is in our food on purpose to get us addicted to it, to keep us buying it, to keep us eating it and doing all of that stuff. So it's not, so you can't ignore that and act like that's not something that's working against you intentionally, because it literally is.
It's
like
that capitalism stuff.
To try to, like, even the stuff that they will market to you as being healthier, and you know, like what would it say, like no what's the thing everybody on right now, like they don't want no what they don't want in their food.
GMO?
Yeah, no GMOs, all this stuff.
I know what you're talking about.
Vegan,
yeah, like gluten free, like all this stuff.
Like
it's that's not what I'm saying. Is the way that stuff is also marketed is in a way that it'll have you thinking things are healthier for you and okay for you to eat that actually are not. And it's important that, and we have to do, what I'm saying is it's not fair that we have to do so much freaking work just to figure out
just
what is good for us to eat. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Definitely easier to eat bad than eat good. But you know, again, it's not an excuse. But yeah, you're right. That is a condition. So.
You know, the FDA monitors the ingredient labels, but it's so funny that, you know, they have to have certain ingredients on labels on products, right? But the marketing labels are not regulated the same way. So you can say non-fat on the packaging, or diet, or low sodium, whatever. You can market it as something that the ingredients don't even support. Yeah. And so that's just something to keep in mind.